Morning. Welcome to another edition of College Coffee Talk. Pearl and Andy Lockwood, Lockwood College Prep. This is the show about all things college, getting in, paying for college, should you even go to college, any type of college news you can use. Good morning, Pearl.
Good morning, Andy. Hi, everybody.
Pearl's coming off of a kind of a tough weekend. She was the runner-up for the North Carolina head football coaching job. I'm sorry that Belichick beat you out. Belichick beat you out.
Wow. That must have been hard for you to say.
It's just kind of funny. Huge Pats fan right here, but
Yeah.
I'm glad you're going to continue on with College Coffee Talk instead of going to the Tar Heels.
Yep. Not going to go to the Tar Heels this year.
Okay.
Maybe next year.
All right. So we have a lot to cover today, and I think we need to spend a little bit of time on a few things and more time on some of the other topics. The first one, why the F didn't she get in? What's the reason for not getting into an early decision college, or early action college, or dream college? This is going to be a little behind the scenes in our practice. You can be a fly on the wall, listening in to, I guess, a summary version of some of our conversations that we've had. And to be fair, I would say out of 8 or 9 recent college advisory clients, I've had one kid get deferred from the early decision school. We've had other deferrals, but everyone else, I think, has gotten into their early decision colleges. That includes Cornell, WashU,
Tulane, Northeastern.
Yeah, I don't know if I had a Tulane. You might have had one for college for financial aid. But yeah, it's been Fordham.
Yep.
It's been good. Fairfield, actually. So running the gamut of colleges, but so far so good. We've got a few more Ivies to hear back from this week.
Today's Duke, tomorrow's Northwestern. Yeah. We have Ivy Day.
No, some of the Ivies have already announced. So Ivy Day is actually for regular decision.
Maybe a week. Oh.
Yeah. So anyway, why didn't she get in? That's going to be one topic. I also want to do quick student loan forgiveness update, which will take very
brief,
very little time. Any FAFSA updates? I think that'll be pretty brief too. Yeah. And don't be that mom. We started that segment last week. I don't know if we're going to do this every week because we don't want to go too negative. But that's basically a segment in College Coffee Talk where Pearl infiltrates some of the chat rooms and pulls out some nuggets that strike her eye and my eye.
In some way.
In some way, usually in that way where you don't want to be that mom. So, all right. So let's start off with any FAFSA updates. Like, things seem to be going pretty smoothly.
Yeah, I would say the only little hiccups I have noticed with the FAFSA is sometimes a FAFSA will be completely submitted. You'll get a confirmation page, congratulations, all that. And then a few days later, a parent or student is getting a notice from Department of Education that their FAFSA wasn't actually processed, that it's missing parent signatures. Well, if it were missing parent signatures, you never would have gotten that congratulations, you've successfully submitted your FAFSA a few days earlier. But I have seen this happen to more than one client. So don't panic if that happens. Just go ahead and sign them again and resubmit it. But that's the only little hiccup I have seen.
Good.
Otherwise, it's been pretty smooth.
All right. So, by the way, I should have said this in the beginning. If you have any questions and you're watching this with us today live or on a replay, wherever you're watching this, lob them in here, and then we will do our best to answer them in a timely fashion. Good morning to Maki, to Crystal, to Heidi, to Perva, anyone who has anything related to college that they have questions on, burning questions, pop them in here. So, all right, so that's the FAFSA update. There's been some, talk or news about student loan stuff happening in terms of Biden proposals for forgiveness.
Oh, yeah.
It's the middle of December 2024. We're not sure he's still president anymore, but what's your take on that?
Take in any yet again attempt by the Biden-Harris administration to, I'm just going to try to be as less editorial as possible, but to put out an attempt once again for student loan forgiveness. This would be now the third time, and likely third time that this attempt is found unconstitutional, because it is, and therefore goes nowhere. It's again, I could think of nothing else but a pandering effort here. Once again, for who? And I don't know what. The election's over.
Right.
Time for people to check their calendars, but it's not going to fly. So don't get all excited. Don't barrage me with phone calls saying, "What is this?" My advice would be to sit tight. Don't start throwing your loan into different forgiveness programs that are just going to be called back in a matter of weeks, when I think everybody needs to just sort of take a beat, wait for the dust to settle, wait for the new administration to come into the fold, and decide, because it is going to be left with this new administration, what is going to be remaining with respect to both public loan forgiveness, but public service servant loan forgiveness, or regular income-based repayment plans that ultimately you can seek forgiveness with after a successful completion by the terms of that income-based repayment plan. And all those programs, some of which have been determined unconstitutional at this point, some of which may need some fine-tuning, because there was legislation that actually took two viable loan repayment options away. So that's not, it's pay is one of them, and I don't remember the other one, but some other acronym. And then SAVE has been declared unconstitutional. There is no way to enter SAVE right now. So it's all up in the air. So instead of just driving yourself crazy and hyper reacting to every notice you get from the Department of Ed regarding your loan, I recommend just sitting tight. Pay your bills, but sit tight until we see what the actual standing options will be. Remains to be seen.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably not going to happen right after the inauguration. Right?
No.
Yeah.
And for whatever else it's worth, I think that the massive changes that are to come, that are being spoken about by the Department of Education, the first order of business are not these loans and these college loans. I think it more speaks to critical race theory in the K through 12, et cetera. But we will see. This is definitely going to have to be resolved in some way, because right now, everyone's kind of treading water on being able to advance these loan repayment programs.
So there still are ways to consolidate loans.
Yes,
there still
absolutely.
are things you can do for relief.
You can
that is something that Pearl is an expert on. She
Absolutely.
does do paid consultations on that.
Yeah.
So if you are interested in that, you can certainly reach out to us, however you're watching this, in the comments. But in terms of all the new stuff that's being thrown around, sit tight.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now let's get into why did she not get in. So in our practice, and again, this is you being a fly in the wall here. We don't usually do this. In our practice, Pearl handles all of the financial aid aspects, all the FAFSA filings and the CSS profile filings, and she's got something like 400 or so active clients that she does that for. I concentrate more on the college advising, helping kids with their extracurriculars and stuff from 9th grade forward until the applications and essays. So I'm on top of our clients that hire us to help them get into college, and Pearl focuses on the funding, but you still have these conversations with people, of course, about where kids got in and where they didn't get in. So the other day you had a conversation with a parent whose child got deferred, not rejected,
right,
and was sort of second guessing himself about his daughter on a few fronts. So take us through that and the advice that you gave, and I will just chime in if I need to.
Okay. So in this instance, the parent had a change in job circumstances that is totally what you are supposed to be including in the financial aid application, because it specifically bears on your ability to pay for college. And it is frequently in this instance, some change in the job situation, like you left one job and you're launching another. Your income is not what the financial aid counselors are going to rely on, because if you remember, you put your 2023 tax information into the financial aid forms, and that's what is being relied on, unless you provide some explanation that shows that that is no longer what can be relied on. And in fact, our current circumstances are, oh, my job has changed, my salary has changed, etc. So that's very normal, totally par for the course, was put into this girls' financial aid applications. And then in trying to figure out, well, why didn't she get in?
So she was deferred from an
She
Ivy,
was deferred from an Ivy,
Yeah.
exactly right. And
which are need blind.
which are right, need blind, and which we have explained, there are frequent reasons that people get deferred that have there are so many reasons
Yeah.
that kids get deferred. In any case, this parent was questioning the inclusion of this explanation, the job change, etc., as to the reason their daughter did not get admitted. And that's dangerous. First of all, that's not even
Well, it's natural. It is a natural thing to wonder what went wrong and try to pin it on one thing, which is hardly ever the case in college
fine.
admissions. Right?
That's fine.
Well, it's just hardly ever the case.
Yes, but putting it on that completely ignores the candidacy
Right.
and all the qualifications or potential lack of qualifications that this student had as compared to the other students who were admitted to that Ivy League school.
Right.
So I recommended, it's just, there's not going to be a receipt coming out of any financial aid machine that's going to say, yep, that's why you didn't get in on the first try. You got deferred because we see your father had a job change. Yeah. No, that doesn't really add up. And you're never going to get that information 100% that that's why. So instead of ruminating needlessly over that, you need to be forward thinking and say, okay, the gig's not up. Gig's not up, jig is not up. Whatever.
I was just keeping that to myself.
Shut up. All right.
Both the gig and the jig are not up.
Not up.
They are
Because you have not been told no. And so what you should, and what I advise is, you need to think about that candidacy and anything else that you can do, maybe that has happened since the time you've applied to the school. Have there been any accomplishments, honors, awards, achievements, projects of yours that have claimed any recognition? Anything like that should be communicated along with a letter of continued interest in wanting to be accepted to that university. That's where the mind should go, not in what do we do? Was it this? Was it my job? Blah, blah, blah. That's not productive. So you can do that for a minute, and then you need to pivot and shift towards where your efforts can actually make a difference here.
So just addressing a specific question, was some sort of financial thing, is that what thwarted her getting in, with the assumption that, does that show that I'm weak and I can't afford to pay for college? So my two comments I have on that one are, number one, she applied to a need blind school, and I really do think when college says it's need blind, I really do think it's need blind if it's one of the top, Ivy or top 12 to 15 colleges. Okay, that could be a whole other discussion. But the second thing, though, is they know, based on other information on the financial aid application, that he had no problem borrowing. Like, it's not that that's ideal, but even people who make a good living on paper, live in nice houses, even if they don't feel particularly secure about like writing the check for the full amount, that doesn't mean that there aren't other avenues to be able to cough up the money that's needed to pay an Ivy or any really expensive school.
Right. Schools don't really care where the money comes from. They just want the bill paid.
Right. So, okay. So if you're just joining us, I see some more people coming on here. Throw in your comments and questions. Janine, Wilma, Tara, Maria, 5 for 5 so far. That is very cool.
Awesome.
I'm a little surprised because you were so like casual about this whole process, a little cavalier, I might say. No, totally kidding. Marie knows that. And that is awesome. Very, very cool. You'll have to send me an email with the actual schools. Good morning to Robin, Betsy, Jay. Okay. He knows they're on pins and needles. There's a big moment coming up this week. Elena, Leslie.
I want to say this, as long as we have a lot of parents and
Dina, Sarah, Tommy.
students.
Phineas.
On,
You got Phineas. That's a cool name.
That is cool. Like P.T. Barnum.
Like Ferb.
And that too.
And Robin.
Um,
Good morning. Go ahead. Back to you.
As you're waiting on pins and needles for what you believe is the absolute, best option for you, your most desired, and I'm not trying to say that it isn't, but in the event that it doesn't work out as you hope, call on your ability to pivot, be nimble, and to not give your power away to any of these institutions that something is wrong with you or somehow you are less than. That is not the case.
Good.
What you need to really think about is, this may not be the path I'm supposed to be on. And just try to lean in, because this will make, if what you're expecting to happen this week doesn't go your way, try to, in advance, decide how you're going to manage that. And my advice would is to be nimble and say, okay, there's a different plan in place for me, and I'm going to, be okay with that, because you're not defined by the admission of any one institution, I promise.
Yeah, whatever. So the whole thing about like what path you're on, that's all, to me, that's all a bunch of malarkey.
I don't think so.
I'm afraid. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry to use that harsh language to you. But the main point that I want to make is the fact that you or your kid is applying to a high echelon school because they see themselves as being that competitive. That, I think, is the most important factor here, not whether they get in, because as we've talked about ad nauseum, and I'm sure anyone watching this knows this for a fact, but it gets lost in the shuffle, that there is really no correlation between what college you go to and how successful you'll be. There are plenty of highly successful people who went to all the top colleges, and there's plenty of losers, and I don't mean that in a judgy way, who also went to the very same schools.
Yeah.
And then also, on the other hand, there's plenty of people who are incredibly successful, not just financially, but in other ways, some you may not be able to measure, who went to normal schools or didn't get into their top choice school, or barely even went to college, or maybe didn't go to college. So that gets swept under the rug, which is understandable, because that's what the college industrial complex wants you to do. They want to take that power from you. They want to make themselves scarce and desirable. And it's very easy, because we're human beings, to succumb to that. And we're not, by the way, we are not exceptions, that we fall prey to this too with our own kids, even though we try to check ourselves. But there's really no correlation. It's where you go is not who you'll be. That's the title of the book.
That's still up to you.
Yeah.
That exactly. Really is.
Yeah. So I feel like we say that all the time, but
true.
I can't think of better advice that we've ever given.
And it needs to be repeated, because people forget it so easily.
All right. Next segment. This is my new favorite segment. Don't be that mom.
Okay.
Let me turn it over to that mom, Pearl. This is the mom you should be, by the way.
Oh,
I love you.
Thank you. I love you too. That's so sweet.
I'm holding space for you.
Thank you. Okay. All right. So this is a post, a not anonymous post on Facebook.
Do not out them, though. Okay.
Pearl. I'm not going to.
So just again, as the tie-in or the setup, Pearl, from time to time, meaning 10 hours a day, is on Facebook, infiltrating. Okay, fine. Sometimes you're reading the post, but she's done a good job going undercover and infiltrating her way into a mom's group near you. So be careful. It's like being a restaurant reviewer. You have to have do you have aliases? Probably not. Okay.
If I told you, then how would they work?
Right. Very sneaky, sis.
So here we go. I'm going to seem very petty in my statement. Is it wrong of me to get mad at my non-Jewish friends that are celebrating that their kids have gotten into some of the most anti-Semitic Ivy League schools?
Which ones are those, by the way?
Right. A friend of mine's daughter just got into Barnard, part of Columbia. I see all the congratulations on her Facebook wall. So instead, I'm pissed off that a good friend of mine is sending her daughter to a school that has been promoting anti-Semitism. I know I'm wrong and selfish, but I feel like she's not supporting me because she's sending her daughter to a school that has been so cruel and absolutely deplorable to which Jewish students. So I didn't comment at all.
Whoa, she withheld her comments.
Right. So there were a variety of responses to this.
On
And
both sides.
on
right?
both sides. Like here is a comment totally in this same vein, which to me evidences like, woo, self-absorption to the max. But one of the responses in the same fashion, maybe her daughter got into Barnard because smarter Jewish students chose not to apply to Barnard.
Right.
Woo! It is
So she
something.
didn't really earn her way in.
It is something to
Yeah.
suggest, like, happy your daughter got in, but many Jewish women chose not to apply, diminishing any true competition. Yeah, that would be a really great thing to say to a friend. Uh-huh.
Oh, she's suggesting that
She's suggesting, right,
Oh.
that her post should have been, well, maybe your daughter's not so great because, like, really smart Jewish daughters didn't apply.
but congratulations.
But
anyway.
congrats.
Yeah.
That's a good friend.
Yeah.
You don't need friends like that. Those you'll leave on the curb.
Sometimes I wonder, like, who are these people? But I think we do know.
No,
people.
we know people just like this.
Right,
All right.
right. But then there were comments on the other side, also,
Yes.
which were like,
Are you?
shut up.
Hello? You're so self-absorbed. Do
Right.
you take as much care in observing all of the priorities of that family's interests?
Right.
Are you reorganizing your life to make sure that it jibes with that friend's code of morals and values?
Right.
Oh, are you sure we're on an equal playing field of really?
Yeah.
Are you kidding?
So
Check yourself.
Right. So in effect, she's asking for her friend to censor herself. So interesting.
And just to be clear, this does not mean in any way that I am for the anti-Semitism that I have seen disgustingly handled and displayed at all of these
Right.
Ivy League institutions.
Right.
It's disgusting. Okay. However, who the hell am I to tell somebody where they should send their kid?
Or not congratulate
Or not
them.
congratulate
Or take
them.
it personally.
Take it personally.
Right.
I mean, all the above.
Right.
It is
You posting that your kid
crazy.
got in. You posting that your kid got in somewhere offends me.
Who are you?
Right. Exactly.
Whew.
So what I was saying to you right before we took the airwaves this morning was I had a related conversation with a prospective client that came into the office this weekend, and he attended a prestigious, top 12 college, and he does alumni interviewing for that college. And we were talking about various candidates that he sees and discussions and the college essay. I think they asked me a question about how do we coach kids on the essays, and I talked about how like narcissistic this process is which is normal to, I guess, to take away from that, because when you're applying to college, you are putting yourself out there and trying to explain why you should be chosen. Okay, I get that, but I was pointing out that there's got to be, when you write an essay, it's got to be about something bigger. It's not just yourself, right? So what the gentleman said was, what the admissions officer that I talked to told me that they're looking in the essays, they're looking for self-awareness, right? Not just me, and it doesn't matter about forget about the community, forget about other people's opinions, etc. like that. So here in this example is a perfect example of a lack of self-awareness. Although what confuses me is in the beginning she said, this may not be, I can't remember what the words were.
Selfish.
This may not sound right, but then she went ahead and did it anyway. So like it's almost like saying, with all due respect, and then you say something completely not
sorry,
disrespectful.
Right.
Yeah, right.
You sound sorry.
But just bear in mind that I would say the lack of self-awareness can flow downhill. Anxiety on kids can flow downhill, from the parents, and maybe this, who knows, maybe this parent's kids isn't, maybe she's bitter that her own child didn't get in to a top school.
No.
The whole thing about Jews and applying to Ivy Leagues and all that, apparently the numbers are down in terms of Jewish students applying. But I have to say, and this is so anecdotal, but most of the people that I know who are Jewish, who have top students, who are applying to the Ivy League schools, not refusing to apply, if they manage to get in to Harvard or Columbia or some of these hotspot anti-Semitic colleges, I think for the most part they're going there. They're sending them with very few exceptions.
I would agree.
Yeah, because it's a big deal when you're striving for that brass ring to achieve it, right? So I also think that a lot of the anti-Semitism has started to tone itself down this year, not evenly across the board, certainly not at Barnard.
I would
but I
expect
feel
it to
better.
continue to tone down when the threat of federal funding comes their way.
Maybe, but I feel, I don't feel like Harvard this year is worse than it was last year. I think they've made some small strides to improve.
Right. I think Columbia is still greatly offensive, but I agree. We can just compare. I remember what I saw last year at Cornell, and I know what I'm seeing this year at Cornell, and it is definitely tamped down. It's not a solution. It's not perfect. It's improved. Yeah.
All right. Before we wrap up, any more questions?
I wanted to add one more thing.
Let me just get to some quick shout outs, and then you can add your final words. Please. Just let me do this. Let me say hi to Betsy. Betsy's, oh, you're right. Betsy's kid is 8 for 8.
Woo!
That's amazing. Christine is here. Catherine, 4 for 6, but 1 full tuition scholarship. Very cool.
Awesome.
Good to hear. Good morning to Shazia. Good morning to Danny Ticchio. I will be lunching with Danny, assuming I don't have a conflict, because I post a lot on his LinkedIn page. It takes up a lot of time just thinking about his posts that he does. He says, Andy's lucky to have you, Pearl.
Thank you. Thank you.
Asked and answered. Thank you, Angeliki, Patty. Awesome. All right, Pearl, final words before we wrap up.
I was just going to circle back to that. What?
I didn't do Don't Be That Dad. Give your final words.
The other reason that Jewish kids may continue to attend these very prestigious Ivy League institutions, besides the fact on its own, the other position that some family may take in sending their student to a school that's been known to have anti-Semitism is to be there to try to combat it.
Yeah.
If no one is there representing us, then it's game over. Okay? Last point. Go.
All right. So I just have to, I guess, conclude with the sister or the brother segment to Don't Be That Mom. I was looking through some comments on some ads that we've been running for a while, and one of the ads was in reference to getting financial aid tips, and I got a comment from somebody who saw the ad who said something along the lines of, I just filed my FAFSA and my CSS profile. Will your services help me? Because again, Pearl does this for something like 400 families a year. And I said, no, I'm sorry. I'm still too late. You'd be wasting your money hiring us. I think I thought that was the proper thing to say. And I thought I was being a good guy. And the response I got was, well, maybe you should have been running your ads sooner.
Thanks.
So I'm like, A, I've been running this for over a year, so I don't know how much sooner I could do it. But B, sometimes, thank you. Sometimes in this process, we see it's not just a lack of self-awareness, but it's a lack of personal responsibility. So it felt like, and I may be reading into this, but it felt like he was trying to blame me for not reaching out to him sooner so he could get help with his, do you mind?
Being that dad.
When you talk, I just sit there. I guess, he was looking for, he's feeling the pressure. He's looking for some sort of solution because he just realizes, how college is really expensive, and he's a little frustrated. And sure, we advertise online, so it's very easy to take it out on us because we're not real people. We're just people who show up on Facebook every once in a while, I guess. But it was kind of striking to me because I felt like I was responding to him like a human being, and then he got mad at me.
Okay, we'll take your money for no point.
No, I just,
you want to waste it?
Yeah,
Go for it.
But I was looking for the bigger picture. The bigger picture is you can't you can't put your sense of responsibility on someone else. You can't outsource that. You outsource that. You've got to be very responsible. You've got to take action. If you have a younger kid and you're thinking about what's it going to take for him to get into his top college, how am I going to pay for this, the sooner you start taking actions to plan and to investigate different options, which of course could include us, but they don't have to, the better off you'll be. But in any case, the burden's on you. It's not on us. It's not on anyone else. It's not on your guidance counselor. It's not on anyone else on the internet. It's totally on you.
Last point on that. I've also noticed there's an overabundance amount of attention on some parts of the process, and then a total lack of attention in other parts of the process. Like they'll ruminate about like something that doesn't really matter, or maybe it matters, but not as much as they're going into it. And then I had somebody, and I told you this, who was so nitpicky about every little decimal number, had reviewed 100 different times, became so invested in it, and now subsequently is like, oh, I overlooked what you put in the explanation, and maybe what? No, when you are submitting something and you are reviewing it, you need to do that. Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. So people like us can help, but at the end of the day, responsibility falls on your shoulders. And I think you'll feel better that way too. Same with our kids, knowing that this is something you've got to take charge of. All right. Great.
Closing toast?
Yes. We'll do a synchronized sip of your coffee or whatever you're having this morning. 1, 2, 3.
Good luck this week.
Yes. Good luck this week and the rest of the way. We'll be back next week. One more show before the break.
Of course.
Thanks for joining us. And again, if you are watching this somewhere else besides Facebook, because we are now a cross-platformed firm. By the way, we were, according to ChatGPT, which is totally accurate, we were the number 3 college planning podcast.
All right, what do we have to do to get to number 1? Huh?
Bribe Sam Altman or something. I don't know. So if you're listening to this on podcasts or anywhere else you're watching this, and you don't want to miss out on any more new information that comes out, like, subscribe, etc. And we'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.